What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We are in the bait laboratory today. It's time to make some jigs. I was going through my jig box and I ran out of pretty much all my half-ounce jigs. So we are making half-ounce jigs in today's video. We're going to be using dual molds for this, and we're going to be using some 6th Sense skirts. I think they have awesome skirts. And don't forget to check out the description in today's video so that we can get the product list and discount codes and affiliate links and stuff like that. Please use those codes and those links so that way the companies know that I sent you and I can get credit for those sales. But let's get into today's video and let's make some jigs. So this is the football jig mold that we're going to be using today. So one of the next things you're going to need are hooks for your jigs, and then you're also going to need those WB 800 wire forms. Those are going to be your keepers for your jig trailer. Okay, so one of the first things we got to do is put our hook inside the mold, and then we got to put a wire keeper into the mold. Sometimes it's a little bit tough getting everything into the mold. And then we're going to put in our base hole pin, and that's going to keep the hole in the jig for our weed guard when we put the weed guard in later. Then we're going to close up the mold, and now it is time to put lead in that mold and get that jig poured. Okay, so now it's time to start pouring our jig. Check flow, we got a good flow. Go in there, pour up our jig, let it cool down, and we'll check that thing out in a second. So there's our completed jig. It's time to cut that sprue off, get painting, and get that skirt put on. If you notice in this jig, I didn't get a complete pour right around the skirt collar, and that's just because the hook that I chose along with the bait keeper just isn't letting that lead flow through. I don't mind it in this jig in particular because once I put that skirt on the jig, you're not even going to be able to see it. As you can see, we still got the sprue on our jig, so we're just going to cut that off like that. And then one thing I do like to do is I do like to file my jigs. Just gives it a little bit more of a finished look on the back.
Now it's time to start painting our jigs. You want to shake up the powder paint cup to get everything nice and loose inside. Then you're going to heat the jig for about 20 seconds. Then you're going to dip the jig into the powder paint, stir it around a little bit, shake off the excess, and then you're going to want to take it back up to the heat and finish the jig to where it has a nice shiny finish.
Guys, when you're powder painting these jigs with the ProTech powder paint, you want to make sure that you take the base hole pin out right away after painting them. If you don't and you take the base hole pin out later, it will crack your paint, and you do not want to bake them with that base hole pin inside. So what I like to do to clean out the hook eye is I use a tool called an eye buster on a lot of different jigs. But for this particular jig, the eye buster tool does not work. So what I take is an old jig head with a hook on it, and I just take the hook point and I put it inside the hook eye, clean everything out, make sure that my opening is completely open, and then they're ready to bake. Now it's time to bake our jigs. It's going to make our powder coat way more durable. It's going to make it super hard, and that way we're going to be able to bang it off those rocks, and it's not going to get all messed up right away. The chip, it will start chipping eventually, but it's a lot more durable after you bake them. So right now we're going to put those jigs into the oven for 20 minutes at 350. Once these jigs are done being baked in the oven, it's going to be time to put those weed guards in and get our skirts put on. Our jigs got out of the oven. The paint is nice and durable. We got our skirts right here, dark blue melon 6th Sense silicone skirts. We got our weed guards right up here, and then I like to mix up some epoxy to glue those weed guards in. I just feel like the epoxy holds up a little bit better than super glue. This is 2-part epoxy, so you want to make sure that you have even parts from both sides of the epoxy. If you don't, the epoxy will not set up correctly. Right now, I am going to start putting the weed guards into the jigs. Just a little bit on the back side of the weed guard. Dip that weed guard into the epoxy, and then simply put it inside of the jig head. You want to be careful to not have too much epoxy because it will run outside of the weed guard hole, and then you're going to end up with epoxy all over the outside of your jig. Now that our weed guards are in place, it's time to put the skirt on. And one thing you want to make sure of is you want to put the hook point into the shorter side of your skirt. You do not want to have even lengths on both sides, because once this longer side ends up falling down underneath the head of the jig, everything kind of evens out, and if it's not completely even, you can just trim your skirt at that point. So what you want to do with your jig skirt is you want to get it open so you can basically see down the center between all the different skirt strands, and that's where you want to put the hook point. I'm going to do it a little bit offset so we don't mess up our weed guard, but you basically want to put the hook point into the middle of all the skirt strands, and then you simply slide up, trying to make sure you keep everything in the middle of the skirt. You can adjust it slightly if you need to, then you just slide it all the way up over the skirt collar, just like that, and then there you have it. We have our finished jig. So as you can see, guys, our jigs are all done. Everything's poured up. Everything's complete. Those things will flat out catch fish. You definitely can make your own skirts if that's something that you want to do. Dual Molds has all kinds of different skirt material available to you guys. And don't forget about the product list that I'm going to leave down in the description of today's video. My Dual Molds affiliate link is also in the description. If you guys end up buying anything from Dual Molds, please use that affiliate link so that way they know that I sent you and I get credit for that sale. It's the only way they track any of my content, so make sure to go to their website and buy anything using that affiliate link. Guys, I hope you learned a little bit about making jigs in today's video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!